Hello everybody, GZTV back with another video. This is the last video until tonight's All-Star Recap video. Later tonight, tune into the channel because we're going to be going over every single All-Star event. But we're here to talk about all the music that dropped this week. There's actually a decent amount of music to drop this week. I mean, good, bad, mid, whatever. There's 37 new songs I listened to this week on hour 39. And I have a feeling that next week's video is going to be shorter because we have two huge albums coming out. Yeet is dropping Afterlife, a 22-track record. He actually just announced the album length, and all that stuff. I'm gonna try to get a VPN and go to and get it to Australia so I can listen to one of those albums at like 4 on Thursday and the other at like 11. And I don't know, we'll see how that goes because I'm going to Chicago this weekend. I'm just going to have to edit the videos, try to get some of them edited this weekend. We're not going to have hardly any videos this weekend. It's going to be it's going to suck. I'm not going to watch any TV. I might just take like a little vacation. I'm not really sure, but let's just get into it. Polo G in Future dropped a track. I mean, this sounded like just any other Polo G song. There's nothing too special about it. Polo G, I mean, I'm sure he didn't fall off, but I don't listen to him anymore, so that's just kind of my personal thing with him. I've heard people listen to him before, like, or listen to him even now, still. There's still people I know that listen to him. But, I'm not going to get too much into that. Next, we have Don Toliver dropping 2 more tracks. He dropped To Do It Right, and now he dropped 2 more singles for his album Left Sick, which is coming out next week. It's going to be 16 tracks. We have 13 new tracks to listen to on that reaction video coming up, hopefully, that week. I need to figure out how to get that VPN. We'll probably listen to the Yeet album first. That'll be the first video to drop. And then, yeah. But, we have a song with Lil Durk and Glorilla, which Glorilla actually did pretty good on the track. We have a Kali Uchis. Kali Uchis might be on this album 1 or 2 more times just because they're in like a relationship. And obviously they love making music together. Was it like Love and Drugs or something like that? Off of, what's the album called? Life of a Don. But yeah, Love Sick's coming up. I'm not really sure about the singles. They're not as good as Life of a Don. We'll have to see how this album stacks up. I'm excited though. I think you could expect features from guys like Baby Keem, Travis Scott. He could really surprise us and put like a Nelly or like a Chris Brown or like one of those like singers from the 2000s and 2010s. He could really surprise us. Maybe he'll make a song with The Weeknd. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what to expect there. He's definitely still up there in people's listening rotation. I mean, he's still got a career ahead of him. He's still signed to Cactus Jack, and it's probably their best signee so far. Obviously, Travis Scott. But up next, Ken Carson of Opium. This is a pretty exciting release. Ken Carson, I'm a somewhat big fan of Ken Carson, so this was a pretty exciting release called I Need You, and I'm pretty sure Ken Carson is going to drop an album this year. I don't think I've heard any reports. I think he might have tweeted a couple times saying like an album was coming out soon. But I can almost guarantee for all the Ken Carson fans watching this video that he's going to drop an album. And I think he's going to have a decent amount of people on it. It's going to be a pretty big album, I want to say. I don't know if he's like still in his like mixtape era or whatever. This song in itself, it's not terrible. I didn't really remember it that much when I was... It's not very memorable, but it's not a bad song. I think I need to go back and re-listen to it. Sleazy World Go dropped an album. You know, his name has been out there a decent amount over the last year or so. He's made songs with guys like Lil Baby and Offset coming into this album. So, yeah, Angie Herbo as well. So I figured I'd listen to... He made a song with Frito Bang, PGF Nook, and Rich the Kid. I figured I'd check them out. They're not great. I mean, if Sleazy World Go, I feel like he's going to get a little bland over time. But I want to talk about this next album. Let's see here. D Savage dropped a new album called Mafia Music. Even more surreal soundscapes, metallic melodies, and sudden flex this year for D Savage. When D Savage drops an album, it's actually pretty exciting. And coming into this album, he had a couple good singles. Joker Part 2 was great. I loved that song. Coming into this album, I was pretty excited. You know, I was kind of vibing in the car listening to to this album. I mean, just to give you guys an idea of what my listening environment was for a decent amount of these songs. I was vibing out in a car. We went to the Lego store because I copped the Lego GTR Skyline from the Fast and Furious movie, and I also copped the Lego Technic McLaren Senna to add to the collection, which I'm not going to build that on stream. I did that prior, but I'm like a third of the way through that build. But yeah, what was I talking about? Yeah, I was listening to this album. It's actually pretty good. It sticks to that normal D Savage sound that we're all so familiar with and we've all loved over the years. Such a big part of the underground rap scene. And yeah, D Savage. I mean, I don't really have much to say about it. DJ Drama, Lil Baby Nate Boogie with the Hoodie dropped a track. This went completely under the radar. It doesn't seem like anyone cares about this song. I don't think it's that good either. DJ Drama's had some decent stints in the past, but this is not one of those moments for him. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that song. Realist K. I can't really call him the Nav guy because that's kind of disrespectful, but he's the guy from the Nav album, okay? And I want to keep listening to him. He has this interesting sound. He's got like pop. He's kind of like a Giveon type of guy. Classic love songs. Obviously he's not as good as Giveon, which I still respect Realist K, but come on now, we're talking about Giveon here. Oh, never mind. I thought I saw something. We have the Lil Yachty album in the background. That's so sick that I put that up there. I'm getting my Life EP vinyl in the mail, and we'll probably put that where the Uzi album is right here, so you guys can see it loud and clear, or you can see it clear in the studio. But Realist K, decent song here. IDK came out with a Radioactive. I think IDK is going to drop an album this year, honestly. I think it's about time for a new IDK record, and I'm excited because IDK is not disappointed over the last 2 or 3 albums of his. I think he's made some very good tracks. Yeah. What was the album called? Is He Real? That's one of my favorite albums of that year, of 2019. And there were a lot of great albums that came out in 2019, but that still stands as one of my favorites. Radioactive, kind of weird, kind of has like this drill sound. I'll have to re-listen to it, maybe I'll like it more. But Young Blue dropped a track, Games Women Play. I think Young Blue is getting kind of redundant, but I gotta listen to him because he's a popular artist. He's made a name for himself. I thought his name was just going to be Blue, but he let go of that apparently. Larry June and The Alchemist come out with 60 Days. Obviously, The Alchemist is one of the best producers in hip-hop history, and that doesn't change here, honestly. So yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it. The instrumental's cool. Larry June's had a couple of tracks in his catalog that I've listened to, and I've monitored him. I've heard a couple of like album cuts and whatnot. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's great or anything. Like, he's not one of my favorite rappers, but seeing him work with The Alchemist was pretty cool. Jay Critch dropped a new album, Jug Season. I feel like Jay Critch has kind of made a little bit of a comeback. He's had a couple of cool moments getting back together with like the Rich Forever gang of Rich the Kid and Famous Dex. Rich the Kid's actually on this album. He also has Max B on this. I checked out those two songs. I usually don't have time to listen to full albums like this. I usually just pick out the features and listen to it. I know that's kind of like a fucked up thing to do, and it's never how I want to listen to music. I don't look at like my favorite artist. He's not one of my favorite artists, but I guess when I look at my favorite artist albums, I'm like, oh yeah, he's got that person on it. Like, no, I'm listening for that artist, and the features are just the luxury of the album. But Jay Critch, not a terrible record, or like the few tracks I listened to, they weren't bad, but they weren't like, Jay Critch is a cool rapping style. He definitely reminds me of like a Wiz Khalifa. But moving on to Made in Tayo. Made in Tayo made a new album. It's actually not that bad. It's got a really interesting sound. I think he's kind of hinted at this type of sound in the past, and it's actually pretty good here. He's got guys like Uno the Activist, Famous Dex, 24 Hours on this record. I listened to those singles, or those three cuts. Again, I don't have time to listen to complete albums unless it's like one of my favorite artists. And guys like Don Toliver and Yeet, who are dropping next week, turn on your guys' noti bell because we are going to be doing edited reaction and reviews for both of those albums. It's going to be a good ass week. I'm excited. But moving on from the Made in Tayo, it's cool. It's like it's rage. It's all sorts of interesting stuff. Very interesting sounds. Very bright and colorful. But Recon the Menace and Moneybagg Yo dropped a new song. I don't really care for Recon the Menace, but any song with Moneybagg Yo in it, I gotta listen to it. Moneybagg Yo's got some very entertaining flows. He's been a big part of the Memphis rap scene for maybe 3 years, and he's done great. He's probably been rapping for longer than that, but in terms of like his relevance to like the broad culture of hip hop, yeah, about 2 or 3 years of a tenure here. Not a bad song. It's got some weird samples in it. I wasn't really a big fan of like the samples on it, but it wasn't terrible. OG Parker, a pretty big time producer. He's been a part of some pretty awesome tracks. He made a track here with Mooney Long and Ty Dolla $ign. Honestly, I just listened to this because of Ty Dolla $ign's beautiful voice. Anytime we get a chance to get his vocals on a track, it's a win. But yeah, it was okay. Baby Jungle dropped a track with Lil Tyler. I thought I'd check this out because Lil Tyler, he's made a couple of TikTok appearances. He's made a couple of appearances on songs with artists I like. Like the Florida Water. That song is awesome. That was probably one of my favorite tracks that dropped last week. And now he comes out with a song here with Baby Jungle. Lil Tyler's got a cool flow. I think he's really entertaining. He's only 16 years old. He's got a pretty decent future in rap. He might even be a XXL freshman here in the next coming year or two. Maybe either this year's cover or the year after. Lil Tyler, shout out to him. I'm curious to see, if he'll drop like an album or something. I don't think he has yet. I could be mistaken, but yeah. Big Scar, pretty decent drop this week for him. He dropped the Big Grim Reaper. He dropped a deluxe edition, but I didn't even listen to the original Big Grim Reaper, so here we are. He's got Offset, Gucci Mane, all sorts of people. Tay Keith, Pooh Shiesty, Fujiano, all these all the 1017. Is that what Gucci Mane's label's called? He's got all sorts of those guys on there. Big Scar's a pretty big part of that label. And this album's not bad. There's a couple good cuts. I love the track with Offset. I feel like I've heard that before. I don't know why I went back and listened to it, because I think I've heard that track. But it's cool to go back and listen to some of that stuff. To close out our New Music Friday, we have Jack Boy and Ronnie J. Ronnie J, very iconic producer, part of a lot of generations. Jack Boy, the Kodak Black clone, I guess. I don't know. Everyday Valentine's Day. I didn't really like this song. I didn't really nothing memorable about it. It's not a terrible song, but yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe. That's it. Some of the tracks I just acknowledged they came out. I broke down a couple of them. Nothing too crazy this week. Might go back and listen to D Savage, Ken Carson for sure. But yeah, have a good rest of your day. I have to go watch a movie. I just got done watching Dexter, so Dexter movie review coming out tomorrow.